Hello, everybody. Wow. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices, where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. This is your host, Khadijah D. Welcome back, guys. So we're growing slowly but surely, and I definitely am happy to have you on to be on this journey with me. It has been a long couple of years, but we have made it. It has been some ups and downs, some podcasts coming out sporadically in certain times, a Spanish podcast, no Spanish podcast, um, me being sick, having surgery, and you still coming every time to show up and show your love to me. I really appreciate it to everybody who's listening on in. So I want you to please support us on other platforms also. If you listen to me on YouTube, definitely give a thumbs up and hype. I think I want to say this video's got the hype button. I'm not even sure. YouTube always got something going on, guys. So I'm not really sure what's happening. But if you could hype me up, that'd be great. If you could follow me, that'd be even wonderful. If you could also share the information with other people who need to know the information, that will also be great. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram. One day, hopefully, we get back Facebook. We'll see what happens. And we have threads. Threads is kind of honestly, we put on Instagram and kind of just transferred over there. Maybe when we hire somebody, we could definitely, have that back up on, on track. And we are hiring, guys. We're always hiring. So please submit your resume and your cover letter. The email will be down below. I'm not gonna, I think it's NYC Hear Our Voices. I want to believe that. Granted, I didn't make it. I just kind of use it at gmail.com. Sorry, but the link will definitely be down below. The link tree is always down there. So if you want to connect with me, you can. You can always DM me. The fastest way to get to me, honestly, is DMs. Not on TikTok, please. I hardly check that. I'm not gonna lie. I post and leave on TikTok. I am on Instagram and it goes to my phone automatically. So I'll see your updates on there. If you're a family or anybody who needs help, I'm gonna be honest, like I said before, I mostly work with the families in general. Families in home, I know the most about that, right? But if you need resources, or if you're not like at a different part of homelessness, I know people who do different like veterans homeless, DV. I know a little bit about DV also. And if you need help in those areas, I could connect you with somebody who wants to help you. Granted, again, I don't know everything. Nobody's perfect. So I can only do the best that I can do and connect you to the people that I know who's just like their everyday job who does this because rules are constantly changing. And we would like, I like to be up to date. Sometimes people are not up to date in this way and things like that. But yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for being out here. We have a guest today. I should have asked her name. I have definitely failed this time, guys. And I'm honest, and I'm not going to edit this out. Like, as you know, if something happens, it's just going to happen on the show. It is what it is. But we have a guest today. I think her job before she comes on and introduce herself is amazing. I think it's pretty dope. And it's always hard to find a person in this area who actually take care of the people of our population. It's so hard. So please introduce yourself and thank you for coming on to Hear Our Voices podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Khadijah. My name is Odaisha Calderon, and I am a real estate agent turned nonprofit founder. And so I got my start in voucher holders as a real estate agent here in New York. And a little bit about my story. So, well, should I jump into that or?
Yes, you could tell us
Oh,
everything. We want to know
okay, okay.
all.
So a little bit about my story. So my father and my grandfather, they had owned a real estate brokerage back in the 80s, all the way up until I think 2018 in Clinton Hills. And so y'all already know
Okay.
Clinton Hills is like booming right now. But
Right.
in 2018, my I had was it 20? I'm trying to think. No, not up till 2018. I think it was around like, yeah, 2017, 2018, because I just graduated college and my family company was actually going bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad was closing the company, and at the time, I was working as a receptionist at this title company in the city. And so my dad called me. He basically was like, "We're going bankrupt. The company is going under. I'm closing the company brokerage. Here's the office phone. I want you to go through all of the contacts. I want you to listen to all the voicemails. Anybody that says that they have a voucher, delete their number. Anybody else, write down their number." And so I was like, why do I have to delete anyone that has voucher? I don't want to deal with them. They're a headache. And so I said, okay, this is my first time even encountering anything about like programs or anything like that. And
Right.
so I remember I had took the day off of work and I'm like, let me just get this done before I get in trouble. And so I'm listening to the voicemails and literally every person was like, hey, I have a Section 8 or hey, I have a voucher. Can you help me? And I went to go delete it and God said, do not delete it. I'm going to do something with this. I want you to
Okay.
write everybody's name and number down. And so I did. And that's what started my journey of um being a part of like, the whole voucher program. I remember there was this one lady, her name was Jessica, that I connected with. This is in 2018. So again, I really didn't have any idea about vouchers. I didn't really understand anything. I just had this calling from God and this vision from God that I was going to be in the affordable housing sector and I was going to help build a luxury affordable apartments. And so little
Ooh.
old me with this big vision, I'm thinking it's going to happen today,
Right.
I'm excited. I'm like, oh, let's get it. But I had to go through a whole journey of really understanding what it looks like, to participate in this voucher world because it's not easy. And so
Right.
I connected with this woman. Her name was Jessica. She had lived in the Bronx and she had a slumlord and she wanted my help to
Mm.
find her an apartment and it was Section 8. And at the time, I wasn't even a licensed real estate agent at the time. I just had such a burden to help her that I
Right.
was going all over the city to try to pitch to get her an apartment.
Right.
I wound up never being able to get her an apartment.
Oh no.
And then fast forward to around 2021, 2022, I went for my real estate license and I started working at Keller Williams. And
Oh.
so when I got my real estate license and we're going through training, a lot of voucher holders kept coming to me. And I didn't really understand or know what to do with them neither. And everyone was telling me, don't work with vouchers. Like, it's a headache, it's hard. These people, like, we know all the stigmas around voucher holders, right?
Right.
Go instead, there's no money there. You don't want to work with the city. Landlords don't want to work with them. Just don't work with them. Focus on sales. Focus on selling houses or helping people buy houses. And so I listened. I
Mm.
said, okay. And so I had got my first client as a buyer. It was a nurse. It was a young nurse and she needed help with buying a house. And so, Khadijah, I am burnt out trying to help this woman find a house. It was
Wow.
not working.
That's
And
surprising.
so
She's a nurse.
like I was showing her all these houses and it was like no, 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 no. Then her mom came on board. It was just a mess and there was nothing wrong with her or her mom. It's just that
Right.
was just not the area I was called to. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that was not what God was asking me to do. He was asking me to work with voucher holders. And so
Right.
I eventually stopped running and I said, you know what, God? I know that you want me to work with voucher holders. I don't know what to do, but I need your help. And so in my time of prayer, God gave me this whole basically system of how to work with voucher holders because what ended up happening was a lot of voucher holders were coming to me and I was unorganized. I didn't know how to organize all of them that was coming to me
Right.
and I didn't know how to help everybody. And I
Right.
mean it would be like 20 families at a time and I have no apartments and everyone's calling me, did you find something? And so I'm getting overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do. And so what God told me was to create a form, have all the families fill out their information on the form, and to also make sure that their vouchers were up to date. And so
Right.
with
That's a
that,
big thing.
that was a big thing because what happened was someone would call me and say, I'm looking for a two-bedroom. Then I would spend months looking for a two-bedroom. I would find a two-bedroom, but come to find out their voucher is a one-bedroom. And so I just spent so much
Mm.
time looking for a two-bedroom because you wanted a two-bedroom, but you technically don't qualify for a two-bedroom. You had a one-bedroom voucher, and now the landlord is looking at me and the person like, y'all don't know what y'all doing. I'm gonna go with somebody else. And so I had to
Mm.
learn that the hard way of how to really best help the family. And so that's what I started doing. I had this form, all the families would come. They would fill out the form. They would give me, they would upload their shopping letter. So I know that, hey, this is a one bedroom. And I spoke to them up front. I said, I know that you want a two-bedroom. If I can find a landlord who's willing to accept a one-bedroom voucher for a two-bedroom, then yes. But I'm telling you right now, because you have a one bedroom, we're gonna go for the one bedroom. So I had
Right.
to have these conversations with my families as well. Another thing that I had to do was I had to do a little bit of coaching with the family when it came to the apartments, because what I seen tend to happen was if I found the landlord, and I'm going to talk about the landlord part of things too, because that part is really hard as well in the
Right.
line of work that I do. But once we found an apartment, I would bring a family over and then they start nitpicking. I don't like the
Mm.
chandelier and I don't like the color. And this is why is the tiles like that while we're at the showing? And so I just
Oh,
spent
wow.
months finding an apartment that's in the neighborhood that you wanted, right? It's safe. It's not anything slum or anything like that. It's not a slumlord because I don't work with slumlords. I don't work with units that are roach or mouse infected or anything like that. A
Right.
safe, nice place for you and your family. And cosmetics are things that we can change over time. You can paint over time. You could change the chandeliers over time, right?
Right.
They're saying all this inside of the showing. And so now when we leave, the landlord is saying, I don't want that person because they're going to be a problem. Now we just lost a great
Mm.
unit. And not
Right.
just for that person, but for all the other clients that I'm working with, because now they're looking at me like you have only problem clients.
Right.
So what I had to do was I started coaching some of the families that I worked with. I said, hey, we're gonna go into a showing. It might not have, well, first of all, I started getting pictures first. I
Right.
sent pictures and I'm like, hey, before we even go there, is this something that you're interested in before we even waste your time, my time, and the landlord's time? And they started letting me know yes or no, right?
Hmm.
Then I started coaching them and saying, things that can be changed, we can overlook that, right? Things
Right.
that can't be changed, you can't overlook that. Things that can be changed, chandeliers, tiles, colors of the bedroom. Things that can't be changed is location. Things that can't be changed is like safety issues.
Right.
Things that can't be changed is the landlord that you're going to go with, right?
Right.
And so I started to coach a lot of the clients that I was working with because I wanted them to have the best shot at getting housing. That is my main focus. We all want to live luxury, right? Whether
Right.
homeless or not, like we want to live luxury, but I really wanted to stress a new definition of luxury, right? Luxury is not marble counters and chandeliers. Luxury is something that is safe, that is cozy, that is yours for your family. And if
Right.
we find that, let's go and get on that because to every one apartment, there's 20 other families, right?
Hmm.
And so I started doing that with the client. And then on the landlord side of things now, it is very hard to come across landlords in New York City that is willing to accept vouchers. There
Yes.
is a lot of mind renewing that has to happen on the landlord part in order to allow them to accept voucher holders. When, and I'm just speaking for me because I don't know how other agencies or real estate agents do it, but every landlord that I get, I'm on the phone cold calling them and I'm pitching them voucher programs. I'm on the phone with them for hours, explaining to them exactly how voucher programs work, what are the benefits, what are some of the cons, who are the families that I'm working with. And so when I finally get that yes, it's a huge win. And so that's why I really take my time to coach the family because if I bring a family in and they act a certain way, it ruins it for everybody else that I'm working with, right?
Right.
And so when it came to landlords now on that end, like I said, is a lot of upfront coaching because they already have a mindset around voucher holders, around the families. They also have a mindset around the city, not wanting to work with HRA and DHS, and it's going to take a long time and all these things, right? And so we're really actively holding their hands and working with them to really get them to say yes. When it
Right.
comes to landlords, I do not want to work with a landlord who do not value the families that's going to come in, that is only focused on money and not actually taking care of the tenant and also the property. I will
Mm,
pass up on a nice unit if it's not a good landlord because I already know they're going to make the tenant's life so bad.
right.
I've had a landlord that I have found, and this was just last year. I found this landlord. She had a beautiful one bed, one bath in Canarsie. And
Mm,
I spent 3 months coaching her and her husband around the voucher program and all these things. Khadijah, I had 20 families go to visit this unit because one bed, one bath is like a hot commodity in New York, right?
right.
20 families and case managers came back to me and said that they felt discriminated against,
Oh no.
that she was grilling them. It was her and somebody else grilling them. If you have a job, why do you have a voucher? If you have two kids, why aren't they on a voucher? Why are they not living with you? Well, if they live with the mom and not with you, then you must be a bad dad. That I cannot work.
Wow.
I cannot work with because it shows me that you already have a stigma in your
Right.
mind around voucher holders and you're not going to take care of the families. And so we come across landlords who are willing to participate in the voucher program, but they're slumlords. And
Mm,
then we come across a lot of landlords who are kind of hesitant about the voucher program. They're new to it and they're willing to give it a try. And we want to make sure that they have the best experience possible so that they
mm,
continue to list their units to voucher holding families, right? And
right.
then I want to talk about the third part of everything because we have the tenant, we have the landlord, and then we have the shelters and the case managers. Case
Mm,
managers, they play an important part of the process because they are the people that push the paperwork.
right.
When it comes to share, Cityfheps, fheps, soda, there's a deadline that we all have to hit in order to have a lease for the following month. So, for example, right now is May 5th. In order to have a June 1st move-in date, we have to have all paperwork, including inspection, lease sign, landlord package, all that have to be in by May 19th in order to have a June 1st lease. So that
Mm,
means there's a lot of steps that have to happen in order for us to hit this deadline. If you have a case manager who don't care and who's not on the job, there's a possibility that you will lose your apartment. And I have had many times a family lost their apartment because the case manager did not do their job. I had many times where a family was supposed to move in, let's say June, they wind up moving in September because the case manager has have not done the job. It's gotten so bad that some of my colleagues who work in this field that I kind of ask for guidance or just some advice on how to operate when it comes to case managers, it gotten so bad that some of them have told me if a family have a bad case manager, remove yourself from it altogether and find a different family that has a better case manager.
wow.
Now that's so heartbreaking because we have a perfectly good family with little children who are qualified and fit for this apartment, but because they have a bad case management team, I now have to neglect them and go to somebody else who might not be a good fit because they have
Right.
a better case management team. There's something wrong there, you know?
Right.
And so I found myself many times in a position where I work with bad case management team for a good family, and it takes a little bit longer. It takes a lot of pushing, following up, calling. It takes a lot of making noise. It takes a lot of whole hand in the landlords and assuring them that, you know, um, that we're gonna get this done. Just hold on tight, you know? And so
Right.
now I find myself in this place of wanting to make a greater impact. So I've been doing this for a while now as a real estate agent. And most recently, so I was telling Khadijah, um, I started this nonprofit organization called Season with Grace in 2020.
That's nice.
And I didn't know what to do with it. Like I said, like I got this vision from God. I started the nonprofit organization. I filed the paperwork, did all the things. I didn't know what to do with it. And so I just parked it. Most recently, around mid last year is when I started to feel that I wanted to pick it back up. And I renamed it. Well, I didn't rename it. I'm doing business as Neighborhood Eden. And what we do at Neighborhood Eden is everything that I'm doing right now. We consider ourselves a housing connector agency. So, what we do is we have landlord partners. So, these are landlords that we already worked with in the past. We already gotten voucher holders inside their units. We know that they're really good landlords. We know that their units are good. We know that they know the process. So, they're willing to um, be in it for the long haul because it could take a long time to from the time you list your unit to somebody coming into the unit. So we have these what we call property partners. And then we have all of our voucher holder families, and basically we connect them. We handle all of the paperwork for the landlords. We handle all of the vetting of the clients. And so we are really looking to make a greater impact by increasing our property partners so that anytime somebody comes to us, we will have a unit for them. And then in the future, our vision is to actually build properties ourselves so that we don't always have to pitch landlords. We don't have to spend so much time pitching landlords. Instead, we have our own building so that if a family come, we can go ahead and place them inside of our buildings. And so what I started to do was I started to focus more on getting property partners rather than getting more tenants. And the reason why I started to do that is because there's a lot of tenants already who is coming to us that needs help. There's not enough properties for us to put them in, right?
Right.
And so a major part of what we do is we look for property partners. We look for people, landlords that are willing to list their units with us. We vet out the landlords, we vet out the units. And as soon as we get a unit available, we blast it out to all of our families that qualify. We have them come in, we have them look at the unit, we have them talk to the landlord, see if it's a good fit, if it's a good fit for the landlord and also the tenant. Then we start the process. We will do like a background check, which is only $20, and you only pay the $20 once you are selected. And I also think that's important as well because I've come across a lot of families who they're broken and they already have trust issues because of real estate agents or landlords who basically pimp the system. I have so many families who come to me like, I just spent $100 on an application because somebody said that I was going to get the apartment. Now they ghost me.
Oh, wow.
That should never happen, right? First of all, in New York, we're not allowed to charge any more than $20 for any type of application. That's number one. And I can't speak to how anybody else do their process or system. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but what I'm saying is when you come to us, you're not paying for anything over $20. That's number one, as far as application. And number two, you're not paying anything unless the landlord say, yes, I want to move forward with you, and you say, yes, I want to move forward with um with this unit. Something else that um something else with my property partners is, and this is why I focus so much on property partners, is because I want the families to feel confident and comfortable of what they're going to get themselves into. One of the major barriers that families come to me and say, I don't have good credit. Are they going to check for credit? My property partners, they already understand that things happen and you might not have good credit. That's not going to stop them from picking you, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm connecting myself with property partners, with landlords that are filled with grace, that understand the system, that understands the process, that understands who the tenants are and where they're coming from, and that they're going to be willing to, be good landlords to the families that come to us.
That sounds good. It seemed like you have the system just down pack of what you have. Like you've been doing it for a while, so you kind of see what works, what doesn't work for people. You try to make sure you understand all sides of how the system definitely works.
Mhm.
And it seemed like you got the relationships and you make sure that, even if the caseworker, so I still work with this person, but I know it's going to take a bit longer for this to happen. And you give a lot of people grace, and that seems like it's an amazing job that you're doing. And I thank you because people with vouchers, it's so hard to find people to work with them. A lot of time people don't want to work with them because they said, oh, they're not going to pay on time. They're not going to do this. And I don't think people realize when people get vouchers, most time the tenants are paying is the city who's late on their end, not the person themselves. And so it's always like I've been that person calling landlords, even though I didn't even have a voucher. I didn't know how it worked at the time back in the day. Saying I have a voucher when I didn't. I thought it was easy to get it. That's also a thing people think when you go in a shelter, you just get a voucher automatically. It's not true. It takes time. And people was like, I used to tell them I had a voucher, say, oh, I don't take that, I don't take that, I don't take that. So for you to say that you take the vouchers, that you work with a lot of different vouchers, is a really amazing. And I want to because you told me this before, what other states do you work in and stuff like that?
Yes, and so I already mentioned like my relationship with God. And I have to say that because it really is only because of Jesus that I'm in this field, and I have such a passion for it. This is my life work. This is what I'm called to do, and I'm very serious about it. And
Right.
so New York is my stomping ground. This is where, I'm born and raised. This is where I started the work. This is where I want to continue to work. And this is where I started my process and my system. What ended up happening was um, God had called me to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I think that was around 2021. And that's where all of this started blowing up. Like I really started to understand like what I'm called to do. And so I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a year, and I was trying to figure out like how am I going to live in Wisconsin but do vouchers in New York? Like I was like, that's impossible, right? It just did
Yeah.
not make any sense to me. So then I wound up coming back to New York. I got married, and in 2023,
Congrats.
thank you. So I came back to New York in 2022. I continued my voucher work here. I got married, and in 2023, God had called my husband and I to go to Wisconsin to buy our first property. And we went to
Mm.
Wisconsin because property value there is cheaper. And so we moved there. And so I'm like, okay, well, how am I gonna do my voucher work in New York? Like, how am I gonna help the families in New York? And I live in Wisconsin now. And so what ended up happening is because I built such strong relationships with case managers and also with property partners and some colleagues, I have been able to still do my work in New York City while living in Wisconsin. So,
Okay.
yes, so currently I live in Wisconsin. I'm still helping families in New York from Wisconsin because, like I said, I have those property partners in New York who I've built relationship with, who they trust my process, they understand voucher holders. I have the case managers that I work with here in New York, the different shelters that also sends me tenants. And I also have tenants in the past that I worked with, whether I got them in or I didn't get them in, I'm always constantly keeping up with them. And so the ecosystem keeps working. And so I'm doing everything that I'm doing in New York, but from Wisconsin. And then I realized that even in Wisconsin, they have a problem when it comes to Section 8. And
Right.
so Wisconsin is a little bit different from New York because New York, we have so many vouchers, right? We have share, we have soda, we have fheps, we have Cityfheps, we have a lot, Section 8, we have a lot of vouchers. And Wisconsin is like mainly like Section 8, and there might be like a one-off voucher or something like that.
Right.
And it's also hard there. And so I said, I wonder if I can take what I do in New York, copy and paste it, and do it in Wisconsin. And so I did. And come to find out, it worked. The same system that I do inside of Wisconsin is the same. I mean, in New York, the same system that I do inside of Wisconsin. And so again, I help Section 8 families. These are families who have Section 8 vouchers and partner them with landlords who are willing um, to rent with them. And then the plot gets thickened. So I have a best friend who
Yeah.
lives in Maryland, and her husband is a property manager. And so he was working on a building in Baltimore with this. He was like helping build this building in Baltimore, and the landlord who owns the building came to him and basically asked him like, "Do you know anything about Section 8? Like I keep hearing about it. I want to rent to Section 8, but I don't really know how to go about it." And so um my best friend reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, I got this landlord who is asking us to help him with Section 8. We have no idea of how to go about it. Like, can you help us? Can you coach us through it?" So I said, "Yeah, sure." So I'm coaching them through it. And so they're basically like, "Well, can you just do it? Because it sounds like a lot of information and we don't know how to do it." And so I'm like, okay, sure, I would do it. And so I did it from where I am in Baltimore. And so at this point, our organization, we're in New York, we're in Wisconsin, and now we're in Baltimore. And so
Okay.
what I'm trying to do is I'm an advocate for affordable housing.
Mhm.
And specifically in the area of vouchers.
Right.
There's a affordable housing industry is large, right? You
Right.
can either have a voucher or not have a voucher. There's a lot, but I feel specifically called to voucher holders, and there's a lot of families all over the United States who are in need of housing, who have this voucher, who is saying, hey, the government is willing to front majority of the cost. All I have to do is pay 30% of my income. Can you take me? Can you give me a chance? And there's people out there that's saying no. And so that's basically where I come in. As long as I'm able to help from where I am,
Right.
that is what my mission and my goal is. So right now, my focuses are New York, Wisconsin, and Baltimore. And God willing, if there's any other place that I'm able to serve and help when it comes to vouchers, I'm 100% willing to do it. It takes a lot of work. Like you said in the beginning of the podcast episode, like things are always changing. Like the rules are always changing. New vouchers are coming out. It sounds easy to get a voucher, but one time you have to spend a year in a shelter to get a voucher. Now you don't have to spend a year. You have to get evicted. Like it's just all these rules and regulations, and it's sometimes hard for tenants and landlords to keep up with. And so they're looking for a middle ground person that's going to be able to really walk them through the process. And I'm hoping that I can be that for whoever it is that is needing help, you know? And so I really feel passionate about this. My heart breaks every time there's a family in need and I'm not able to help them. There's this family that had a voucher and we found them an apartment. So currently, right now, I'm in New York visiting family because all of my family lives in New York. And I had just got this property partner, an amazing landlord who has a nice, it was a two bed, two bath in Far Rockaway. And we found this family and with a voucher and he picked her. We're going through the process. We're about to hit the April deadline so she can move in May. And come to find out, something happened with her public assistant case where she lost her voucher.
No, Dad.
And so she's calling me. She's like, I lost my voucher, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, wait, just let me call the case manager. Let's figure this out. And so I'm talking to the case manager. I'm talking to HRA. And for about five, so I didn't even tell the landlord this yet. For about 5 days, me, the case manager, and HRA are brainstorming how to get this woman back her voucher quickly, right?
Right.
And so I say this also to say, just putting a pin in this real quick, that there's people inside of the shelter system and inside the city that actually cares. There's
Right.
some people that don't care, but there is people who's doing their job and who cares. And so we're spending 5 days like trying to figure out like, okay, she no longer qualified for this particular voucher because of her PA case, but she qualifies for this voucher. However, what ended up happening was for I believe she needed to we was trying to get her um a Cityfheps voucher. So she had a share voucher. We was trying to get her a Cityfheps voucher now. But for the Cityfeps voucher, she needed to have employment. She needed like income.
Yes.
And they needed to show at least, I believe, a month worth of pay stub or 30 days worth of pay stubs for her to qualify for the Cityfeps voucher.
Right.
Well, that would mean we would have to wait 30 days for her to work. So she had to find a job, wait 30 days for her to work, and then issue the voucher. And then we can get her inside the apartment. And so what
Mm.
ended up happening was we had to move forward with another family because we projected it was going to be a 3-month timeline. And I
Right.
already knew the landlord he wasn't gonna wait 3 months. You know,
Right.
he was okay with waiting 3 months if it took that long to get her in because we already had the paperwork and sometimes we got to go back and forth between the city because the paperwork have to line up and all those things, that's fine.
Right.
But waiting 3 months to again start the process, I had spoke to him. He said, "Hey, I really like the family. If the city was willing to pay me 3 more months full of rent, I would have waited, but they wasn't going to pay that. They was only going to pay 1 month unit incentive hold, and so unfortunately we had to go with another family, and she's still trying to get her voucher back. And so it's moments like that that really breaks my heart because that is a mom with two. I met the mom. You know what I mean? I seen the children. I seen the joy on their face when they found out that they got that apartment.
Right.
And to hear that they lost their voucher and it could take 3+ months for them to possibly get it back, it really broke my heart, you know? And so it's stuff like that that really drives me to keep doing what I'm doing. It's stuff like that that drives me to really want to make a greater impact, to go the extra mile of before I even say all is done with this woman, let me reach out to some of the people I know and let's brainstorm how we can really get her in, you know?
Right.
My biggest hope and my biggest prayer for all of us that find ourselves in affordable housing sector is that we will be bold enough and brave enough to really work the process and stand up when the process is not working for us and do everything that we can to really make sure that, you know, people is able to have housing, food, water, and shelter. Those are the basic necessities. And I truly believe that it shouldn't just be shelter. You get what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm not
Right.
talking about the marble counters, but it should be something that is safe, that is warm, that you can call your own, and I really desire that for everybody.
That is for sure. I think people don't realize how important those basic necessities are until you don't have it. We
Yeah.
take it for granted every day that yes, we have a home over our head. Yes, we have food. But when you are a person on the line of losing your place or you can't have enough money, especially with these prices to not get food, you realize how these things are important.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Like shelter is not an easy place to be in. You having your kids, you just feel like it's depressing. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if it's safe. People think like, oh, family shelters are safe. They might be a little bit safer than other shelters, but they still have depending what shelter you're at, danger is still there. Danger is everywhere. So
Yeah.
and then you're in a place confined with people who are all going through trauma, and sometimes trauma comes out in people in different ways.
Yep.
So usually this person probably wouldn't act like this, but with everything happening in their life, maybe family falling apart, not they're also in the shelter. Something might happen to the kid.
Yep.
People
Yep.
in shelters love the workers, not all of them, call ACS on the people when you think it shouldn't be an ACS call, but you got an attitude with the wrong person. They call
Yep.
it
Yep.
could be a lot of different things why a person is brought to the breaking point, and because they're all with the same problem, like basically trauma bonding in the same place, things happen, and you're wondering why. Like you're wondering really why is this happening? Is because we're all. I don't like how they do it. It's like nature. They have everybody in this who's poorer, I guess, in one place, and it's like this is not the best idea, but it happens. But we have to just have compassion for people. Know
Hmm.
that the workers are overworked. Some of them underpaid. Some of them are just not doing their job. I think
Yeah.
people, ones who are not doing their job, just needs to leave and
Yes.
put people in positions that who actually want to do it. I think their pay definitely needs to go up.
Yes.
We have to do better.
Yeah.
And the people, the caseworkers who are not, if I think another solution, what we need to do is that if you see a caseworker have 10 clients and eight of their applications is wrong, so we need to get that person back on training. If
Yes.
every time
Yes.
it's messed up, it's something
Yes.
wrong. Maybe it's not clicking how it should be done. Something is wrong. That person needs to go back to training because now you're wasting our time, our money, the resources, and we could have got this done out faster and people out of shelter faster. So
Yes.
something is definitely not clicking. And it's okay. Everybody learns differently at different paces, but we have to go back to the drawing board on how we probably maybe the training what we're teaching people is not also not good. Maybe we have to update that to make sure that people are grasping the information properly, to make sure that people are getting moved out properly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot of
It's a
different
lot.
things for
It
sure.
definitely is a lot of moving parts, and that's why I have kind of spoke on the three main places. It's the tenant, then we have the case manager, and we have the landlords. And everyone has a role to play. Some people play their role better than others. I always like to say I'm not pro landlord and I'm not pro tenant. I
Right.
am pro the process of getting the person from point A to point B, right? And
Right.
so that's why I said, even on the tenant side of things, I've worked with tenants who just are not a good fit and who really are trying to milk the system. And they don't just ruin it for themselves, they ruin it for all the other families who are really trying to get back on their feet. And then I work with landlords who also trying to milk the system. Then I also work with case managers who try to milk the system. And so I just want to say like this last thing to the tenants, or just a few things to the tenants. What I want to say to you, if you have housing right now, if you have moved in to housing using your voucher and it's safe, please, I beg of you to, I know that we as the human race, we get discontent and we want better and we want more, right? And so sometimes because we're discontent and we want better and we want more, we prematurely try to leave out of a situation and we don't leave well. If you are
Mhm.
in a place that is safe, that is like decent, that is good for your children, that you have a good landlord, please keep that relationship open and stay there until you have your next opportunity, because housing in New York is so, it almost feels so scarce that I don't want, my desire is, I don't want the landlord to keep calling me each year because a tenant is moving, unless they're moving on, and they actually found another apartment. It's very hard to get an apartment in New York. So if you find
Right.
yourself in a place, and I'm not saying you have to be stuck there. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying if you outgrown because your family has grown bigger, don't move to another place. What I'm saying is if you have a perfectly decent apartment, right? There's no roaches, there's no rats, there's no mold. It's in a neighborhood that's fairly safe. You have a landlord who cares, who's willing to work with you. Stay there until you're able to really secure something else that is secure before you leave, because what I don't want to happen is that you leave a place that was decent to try to find something else, but now you're back in a shelter, because again, it's so hard to find housing in New York. It's almost like it's getting a bit harder these days than it was before. Um, and so that's for the that's for the tenants. For the property owners, the landlords, I want you to know that there are families that are out there that are really in desperate need of your place. The city is paying now market rent, and some of these vouchers are also giving 3 months rent upfront and a unit incentive hold. There's people like myself and some of my other colleagues who have tenant support after, which means even though we have moved the tenant in, you're able to still call us if you having a partner having a problem, and we will work with you on that problem. We won't just ghost you. We won't leave you high and dry. There's so many landlords. If there's a landlord listening, there's so many landlords. You might have two or three or one unit that you're just sitting on. There's a family right now that is praying to be able to move in. I want you to really consider opening up that unit for somebody who holds vouchers and partnering with somebody like myself that's able to walk you through the process. And then for the case manager, I know your job is super hard, but I want you to think about the family on the other end who might who might lose their voucher because you don't want to help them or you have an attitude with them. It is bigger than all of us, right? This is it's way bigger than our job, it's way bigger than our desire, it's bigger than all of us. And I'm just praying that each party and each participant inside of this process is willing to really do the work to secure affordable housing for the people that are in need.
Yes. How can they get in contact with you? So if they want to get help and they have a voucher, which vouchers do you take? Things like that.
Yeah, so I work with all vouchers. It's illegal actually in New York for you to say no, you do not accept vouchers.
That's true.
Um, that's for real estate agents and that's also for landlords. Now, if you are a landlord and you live in like let's say a two-family home and you live in one of the units, it you can say I don't take vouchers. You can't say it like that, but it is legal for a family a landlord who lives in a two-family building to not accept vouchers. But if they have 3 units and more and they live there, they cannot say we don't take vouchers. And so I do work with all vouchers. I'm well versed in all of the vouchers that New York City have. And if you are in need of help, you can reach out to me at odaisha.realty@gmail.com. That is Odaisha dot REALTY Or you can give me a call at 347-935-0299. That is the number and the email that I work out of. Soon, I'm going to be transferring everything over to my nonprofit organization called Neighborhood Eden. I do have an email address for that as well, and so I will share that with Khadijah. And I'm sorry, am I saying your name right?
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
Okay,
you
okay. I
are.
just want to make sure. I'm gonna share that with her so you can leave it, so she can leave it inside of the show notes for you guys. And I want you to know that I try my best to help as many people as possible. The way that my process works is if are in need of help, you're looking for housing, I am going to send you over a form for you to fill out. That is the best way for me to be able to organize myself and see all of the families in need because there are a lot of families. And what happens is, as soon as I get a unit that fits what it is that you're looking for, I reach out to everyone that we have this unit. I send pictures and then I do a showing, okay? And so I don't want you to reach out to me or email me or call me and think that like she's not helping. I'm 100% helping. I'm gonna send you over our form, and as soon as we get available units, I'll be sure to send that out to you. And then for any property partner, any landlord that is listening who are might be curious about vouchers or interested in vouchers, you can also reach out to me using both the phone number or the email, and I will walk you through the process as well.
I also want the landlords who are scared and saying, I'm not going to get my money and this and that. They have programs out there like Home for Good that pays back rent. So and HRA also pays back rent one-shot deals. So don't feel like I'm gonna be in the hole. I don't say wait a year to do these programs. I would say if you see 3 or 4 months going by and a person is saying the city's not paying me, and usually they're paying their half, I would say look out, Google different, especially if you New York City for sure. I'm not sure about other states, but New York City have a lot of different pilots always going on around and also programs that will pay landlords because they know how the city can be late with rent.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of times it's not the person's fault. The person is trying, they're going back to court, back and forth to like fair hearing court and stuff like that. They're trying their best majority of the time, the people I speak to anyway. They're
Yeah,
trying their best. It's just the system is out of their hands and they're doing what they can.
yeah.
So please, please, please do not give up on them. And help them as best as you can. And I know a lot of vouchers are actually limiting out right now. The EHV is one of them. Please do
Hmm.
not give up on these people. They need housing. It's important. Think about if that was your mom, your sister, your aunt, your
Yep.
cousin. Think about your family and how you would feel if your family was on the street or in a shelter. The shelter is not a nice place. Some shelters are better than others, but please do not re-traumatize that family to go back through that situation again. I beg of you on their behalf because it's not a pretty sight to be in there. So thank you so much. If you have any last words for the people.
No, just keep pushing, keep up, the good fight, and just know there's a lot of people out here that really are here for you and willing to help you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being a part of the podcast. And see you guys. Oh, before I even let that go, guys, please follow me on social media. We need the help. We need to grow. We need to touch more people. I'm gonna be sharing this on more places because people are finding me on LinkedIn, apparently. That's where she found me. So I'm gonna do my best to share it out as I can. Please join the team if you can. If you want to volunteer or help us with policies, go to rallies, do phone bankings, things of those sorts. We would love to have you on the team for those particular things. And it could be down below that you sign up for that. So look in the description. I'll have everything down there. And if you want to be in a show, please DM me. Oh my gosh, I'm not in the studio, guys. I'm in my apartment. So if you hear the background of the fire truck, I am sorry. But yes. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.